You're gonna see this bearded, hairy-faced guy. All right, see who comes online. All right, let's see. All right, so nobody might come online, but I'm just gonna try to kick off. I just wanted to kind of record this quick so it doesn't get too much out of hand. Um, so I've been missing in action for a while, and most of you guys were not aware that music that should have been, yo, what's up, Jay? What's up, Jay? What's up? So most of you guys who probably don't know, I have been fully immersed into church ministry. So that's been keeping up with as far as my time goes and making posts and sending up podcast posts and stuff like that. But the podcast will start back up in January. Was trying to just get some new material together and rework it because I was listening to a lot of the stuff that I was putting out there and kind of did a revision. And based upon my revision, is that the world needs more positive, merciful, graceful, and compassionate podcasts. Ones that focus on or challenge us to show or reinvent the way we love others, our neighbors, and the way we do business. So and then I really secretly, behind the scenes, quietly, and so quietly that nobody knows, have been working on a music project, and I'm hoping that November will be the month that that will be released. And I'm just praying and hoping that God will do wonders in the artist's life. And man, Jay, I wish could just bring you on just so you could comment. And but we'll work that out. We'll work that out and get that together so you can come on and maybe comment to everybody in that regard because we have to still also catch up and touch base so that the artist is prepared for what's to come. I think the words and definitely the music of what and the theme of what the artist is releasing is so timely right now. So, I mean, that is such a timely project. Probably one of the best projects I've ever worked on. It's unique. It's one of the best, I would say, um, sell it outside of your back trunk of your car, mixtape type vibe. It's really good. But overall, based upon the climate, we're noticing not just in the Bahamas, and it still seems to be a shaky grounds. Like in the Bahamas right now, and also internationally in a lot of places, the entertainment industry has, in a lot of ways, been mocked. Mocked for raising standards, yet at the same time, persons in certain roles who would claim that these standards are being raised are not petitioning for all artists to fairly be treated with that same humanity and same care and same respect as an artist. Because we know that not all entities are involved with that because it's mostly it's the fewer, and most people care about the good. They care about the industry, they care about what they do professionally on one-on-one. But I've been really busy, slammed with ministry, and so consumed with just serving the church. I love the church that I'm at. Church of God Prophecy, Great Arby Key. Our national bishop, Bishop Whitley Thompson, is oh man, he's awesome. We just thank God for the season that we're in. We've seen a lot of turmoil, not as far as turmoil as in destruction, but far as lives being lost or persons going home before time, loved ones going home before time, and that was probably one of the hardest things for young people to witness in our community. But we noticed that even though that was happening at such a higher rate and like just about twice out of every month, two persons were being buried, and it seems like the graveyard was the most popular place in the Bahamas at the time, and might still be. I mean, still might be the richest place, the richest soil right now. So, but we are hoping that we can come out of that, because that was I felt like the community started to become more depressed and started to focus on so much party this, party that. Let's have this party. We got to have the alcohol there. We got to have this club. We got to have this launch. We got to have this space. We got to do this activity. But I was just like, I think really right now, our community truly needs counsel. And not counsel for people who have zero experience and people who don't know how to actually connect with people, but people who literally have the experience and knowledge base to connect with people, people who can be, you can have confidence in, not someone who you share information with is going to share it with the world. You know, like Jay and I working on something, you guys don't know nothing about that, because only because I mention it, you guys know about it, you know, but we're not releasing details out there because we just know that people would take samples of your music and they will reproduce your music and put it on a whole entire album and give you zero credit for it. And even if you were the first person to come up with a concept, um, you know, I've watched artists that have worked with well-known names, household names, that have literally taken talented work, placed it into their works, and not give credit. And I thought about that, and I said, well, I think the time period that we're in, a lot of things are being noticed because those artists who were already out there, their music was already out there, they already have a following. Their followers are now on social media. Their followers are now connected to the internet. So it's easy for persons can be find out easily if you are taking creative, you know, music and not getting the proper licensing and stuff like that. And so everything that we're trying to do right now is just ensuring that the authenticity of what we do and what we love to do is not going to be hindered because of you know, being rejected from samples that were not, you know, properly channeled and licensed. So we're going to definitely make sure that if we have any samples, which, and I don't do samples, so I don't do samples. You won't have any samples on my record. And if I do a sample, it would definitely be properly licensed, and we would have that to back it up. And so I urge all of the um, writers out there and artists out there who are consistently covering material to do something even better. Go out there and get a license. Now you can cover that music with that license and record it and also release it, you know, and you know, it probably be a certain amount, but now you have a license to do so many things. It might be limited in some areas, whereas, but then that individual still would retain their royalties and however that works out, you know. But your performance royalties, you would still retain your performance royalties. So there's a lot of things where people would have to be properly educated on and carry out the right process in doing music. But that's music. I just really wanted to come on here to address also a significant thing too that's been happening in the Bahamas, and even my community. And I'm not trying to do this to hurt any feelings or step on any toes. So in this community, my encouragement to local government leaders, administrators, teachers, the keys or whoever, we know that people are constantly being at work and doing something. They're constantly working and moving. They're consistent contributors to the community. When it comes to talent and people who do that full time, you know, they're full-time talent. They have the talent to do it. I mean, I'm talking about persons who can produce, live right here on this island. Persons, I'm talking about myself now because I don't know everybody, but I know there's more than just me. artists who toured, who can professionally do music and should be paid at certain rates, live right here on this island. Whereas that will allow for communities to grow, our very own community to grow, when people here from this island benefit from that part of the industry. And I believe that a caliber of respect, a caliber of proper planning needs to be taking place. And not only that, the culture of recognizing the talent that you have. I have to correct something that Kevin Wallace put out, this Mr. Kevin Wallace put out there, and I'm going to correct it because he made a statement saying that Waylon was one of the first ambassadors for Great Harbor Key, but that was not so. Internationally, when I started touring and doing music, I was always telling people where I was from when it came to this island from Great Harbor Key. I love Waylon. Close friend, and I knew when he started to do well in basketball and stuff like that. But internationally, I was not only known for doing what I was doing from the Bahamas, but I was known in other places around the world for what I was doing, and I represented this island. And I did that from the stage. I did that through my friends and my relationships with my friends, and some of my friends who are internationally known for doing music and entertainment. And I'm still connected with them. They're still on, on different platforms that I have and stuff like that. But far as the community always getting it right, don't always expect for the community to get it right. They don't always get it right. They say things that are incorrect, because I am the first international artist to come from Great Harbor Key. I've been doing it longer than any other artist that came out of Great Harbor Key. I can tell you that. And when I say any other artists have done it the way that I've done it, I'm the first, literally the first. I was not only performing out of high school, I was not only doing music from I was in the Bahamas before I went to abroad, but when I started doing it professionally, from what I'm privy to and from what I know of and the research that I've done, I'm the first and the only Bahamian right from my hometown that was doing it to that level. And when I moved back, even though I've done it to that level, seen it, I started to notice that various Bahamians who have done music internationally, persons who are still doing it internationally, who are still international, won't move back home because copyright infringement stuff that's going on, royalties not properly being taken care of, and also people creating facades about others. Waylon was an ambassador for this island, whereas every other Bahamian who came out of Great Harbor Key that is around the world are ambassadors for the island. So that's the correction I really want to make to him and anybody else who would like to say anything. It's not, so don't just say someone is the first, because you don't really know when it comes to being an ambassador. They are, far as athleticism, far as other things, there are other persons who left this island that were known for athleticism, and they were ambassadors to this island, and they were not recognized in the statement. And so that is just what he's privy to and in his experience. And so he made a statement based upon opinion, but not necessarily a fact. So I want to bring that correction to all of our Great Harbor Key persons, and even to the Bahamas at large, to know that whatever Bahamian leaves their homeland, gets on a flight, goes to Canada, goes to Europe or whatever, he is now an ambassador for where he comes from, because he has an opportunity to represent his homeland, his country land. When he talks about the Bahamas, he will have some sort of form of dialect. You say certain things differently, speak a bit differently and stuff like that. And some references to music that's done, far as rake and scrape goes and representation goes, regardless of what people may perceive, you are an ambassador. That's just like when you become a believer. When you become a believer, one of the things Dr. Monroe used to call those persons, you are now an agent of change. You have been changed. Your whole life has changed. And so you are not somebody who's just a regular person. And so I don't want Bahamians leaving our country, or even the younger ones who coming up, not looking at the quality of life that we are all promised and given, and what we have right now, right here in our backyards, that we are all ambassadors. And even though we may never travel, people, the world meets us here. We are in the center place. We're still in the triangle. We are one of the center places where the world meets us, right here, right here. And I'm not trying to correct someone to say, hey, you said something wrong personally. I'm saying, hey, you have to make sure that when you make a statement, that you make sure you vet and properly vet that statement. Make it make sense, and make it clear that when you say that statement, you're not excluding a group of people that help created the structure from where you live, in the community of where you live, that you're not alienating youths and talents that are promised for this country, that might end up going elsewhere because you already have your white savior, or you already have your brown savior, or your black savior, or whatever you want to call it. But we keep on trying to box. That's the same way society tries to box Jesus into some sort of you know, athleticism, or whatever you want to call it. You want to say like some state of like, oh, he had this nationality. This is who Jesus was. Yet the Bible doesn't do that. The Bible never describes Jesus's nationality in words far as how coarse his skin was, or the fact that he had calluses in his hand. Those things can be obvious. The fact that he was a carpenter, but where he was from and the location of where he's from, we had to go there. But that wasn't the purpose of Jesus' story. Jesus' story appeals to everyone for a reason, you know. So he's not a white Jesus. He's not a brown Jesus. He's not a black Jesus. You know, he's not all these things that we want him to be. He's a Jesus for everybody. That's who he is. He has been a Jesus for everybody. Yes, you have the facts. Yes, you have the facts and the records to say, oh, Jesus was Palestinian and this is what Palestinians look like, or whatever. Yes, that's great, but that's not Jesus's message. Jesus' message was about freedom for all. He was about you being an ambassador to light, you being also an ambassador to bringing people into salvation and an eternal life, something that is promised for all people, not a certain category of people, and not a certain merit of people, and not a certain background of people. It wasn't about that. It was for all people. Because it said, the Bible keeps on saying, and it's very obvious, there's going to be neither Jew nor Greek, nor slaves. None of those things will be in heaven. None. None. So we keep on trying to categorize this thing and add nationalism to the church. And I don't believe in church nationalism. That whole nationalism thing that's not of God. That's just, that right there is man's design. You know, that's man's house design. And I can go into that politically, but I'm not going to go into that politically. I love all of our community leaders. I definitely want to say that. I love all our community leaders, but I got to address that one, because I don't want any youth, any young person who leaves here who have sown so much of their time into this community, to think that they are not loved, they're not recognized for their worth and their value. We have incredible talent here, and I'm saying amazing talent. And it's not about who's first, because we are all on the same playing field. We're all human. We're all human first. All human first. And until we start putting that value towards human life instead of a characterization is a serious thing. It's probably one of the deepest wounds that we can ever create, because characterizations causes us to create prejudice against the first nation that ever revolted against slavery, which is Haiti. We have this extreme prejudice against Haitians in the Bahamas. It's so extreme until every new election year, or prior to election, we're always bringing up that same issue again and again in the Bahamas. And it's sad. It's sad. It's very sad. And it's very oppressing, because we continue to say, hey, well, we're going to help them to stay in their country. but we're not really in the meetings like all the other leaders who are in meetings and trying to figure out a way. Look, we gotta know the world of the systems are the ones who destroyed what Haiti and making what Haiti is to this day. They still blame Haiti for the fact that white men were killed. Let's just call it what it is. They still took all of the riches from Haiti, and now they focus on the gangs that, oh, the gangs are ruining Haiti, the gangs are this in Haiti, the gangs are all this in Haiti. But how are these gangs still maintaining this level of power and level of resources if they don't have help? I mean, it's the most insane thing and most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, because we've seen this go on and on and on and on. And why is this revolt of gangs in existence? Why is this genocide and level of resistance is happening in Haiti? The first place, and you notice all the places who've resisted certain levels of things, including Jamaica. Look what is happening to Jamaica. And every nation that's ever stand against tyranny or authoritarianism, or some sort of Zionist movement, whatever you want to call it. I want to get into all that, but every nation that stand against these things have been attacked. And so, in the world of entertainment and music, artists, we have to bring this positive. You know how much energy we have to bring. We know what's happening in the world. We're seeing our brothers like Trey, who's been hung on a tree. You know, we're seeing people who we respect or have a respect for, like Charlie Kirk, being assassinated. Whether or not people want to kind of classify him with race this and race that and all these other things, I went to college before, and there was multiple debates. There are multiple opinions where people have and stuff like that, and really good debates and meetings that were had are where persons who have different stance on beliefs are in the same room, but having very advised or learned conversations with each other. And they are not declaring just for a body of this minority group alone, but they're declaring something for humanity, to a checkpoint for humanity to recognize, or instead of just trying to eradicate belief in general. And we notice that that's how we are able to prosper together. That's how we're able to be in the same room. We might disagree, but we're in the same room, and we have that value and higher level of respect for each other, not trying to cancel out what you say or the comments you made just because I didn't like what you said and those comments hurt me. Doesn't necessarily mean what you're saying to me and the message you're trying to get across is invalid. And for me to try to cancel that and say it is invalid because it hurt my feelings, or it is invalid because it was such a sensitive time and it wasn't right for you to say that during this sensitive time. And I'm like, well, gee, you know, Jesus said, let the dead bury the dead. And that was around a sensitive time. That was the coldest thing I ever heard, read in the Bible. Let the dead bury the dead. So, I mean, what are you really saying to me? If we're really trying to live a life that portrays or to be perfect as Jesus was, or try to walk in his footsteps, we need to live a life of mercy. And I feel as if artists have the best advantage of that, because we have the time. If we could focus on our craft, which means that we are compensated properly. When we are invited to an engagement to do something, you properly take care of us. You know, I mean, because we don't want to be constantly be dealing with this. I mean, this is getting too much now. But my encouragement is that those are frontline ambassadors, entertainment. Frontline ambassadors, whether people like it or not, they're frontline ambassadors for some cause, whatever they believe for something. But as a believer, as a Christian, as somebody who claims and declares that they're for the gospel of Jesus Christ, your number one goal is not to get in these political nonsense, especially in this time, because it's caused too much harm. I was clearly disturbed when I saw, I love Chris Tomlin, but I was clearly disturbed when I saw Chris Tomlin performing at the memorial service, and which was not a memorial service, but a political rally. It was clearly a political rally. I felt like that memorial service needed to be a little more intimate. And I felt like that needed to be what, the wife would have wanted, and I felt like, I don't know if she was in control of that. I felt like it just, because they made it a national thing and it blew up to this level, and now you have persons who are comparing Charlie Kirk's life to Jesus Christ, and they're free to do that. I mean, they're free to do that, and there's nothing wrong with them doing that. I just always want people to focus on love and mercy and what salvation truly means. And it's talking about going to a better world. I'm talking about leaving this one, and saying that how all humanity are inheritors of that. And we have the options. If we accept Jesus as our Lord and Savior, we have the option. We have that ability. We have that grace. I think the timing of everything that's been happening is something that we cannot control. And that's why I keep on telling people I still believe that God had purposed Trump to be president of the United States. He did. Just how he purposed Brave Davis, Honorable Brave Davis, our prime minister, to be prime minister over the Bahamas. Whether we like it or not, those people were ordained for those roles. Whether to break the illusions that we were experiencing, where people were addressing that these systems of oppression existed, and now the rest of the world is realizing what systems of oppressions really look like, and they're getting a glimpse of it all over again, and they're waking up, and Christians are more so waking up to the call. And even artists are starting to present some of their best work that they've ever created. And people keep on going back to the past and be like, oh, if you look back to the past, that was some of the best writing that ever was. And I was like, but in these times, to create in these times, the level of tyranny, the level of brokenheartedness, the level of distractions, the level of all the things that we were promised we're not being given. All the things, people talking about reparations and all this stuff. And I'm like, you want reparations on earth that heaven has already got more for you? Like, what can man do for you? Man can only promise you a system that has a restriction of failure. Man can only promise you a freedom that has a consequence and with penalties. So what sort of freedoms do you think we had? We're still in the world system, whereas if you quote unquote step out of line or step out of place with certain conversations, whatever the case may be, you're not only blacklisted, you are marginalized, and then you're pulled in some office and saying, oh, well, King, are you well? So they either demonize you, they either call you crazy, or they try to financially assault you. And if that doesn't work, then they criminalize you. And once they criminalize you, now they say, well, he's a criminal. Or they say he has no education, he's incompetent. And so there's so much stuff that is out there that is filled with not only malice, it's filled with hate, it's filled with racism, narcissism, it's filled with all of these levels of violence against humanity. And most artists around the world witness it. We don't come out and tell the world this is what's happening, this is what's happening. But my stance was like, Chris Tomlin is one of the biggest voices in Christianity. And I know he saw it as an opportunity to lift up Jesus and worship and stuff like that. But unless he was doing it for free, that'd have been a big fat check. You know what I'm saying? Like, unless he's doing it for free and he's just doing that for nothing, and he's just doing it to be there, to really worship and really try to send the message of Jesus Christ to the world, because it's such a huge stage at that point, I pray that's what it was, because I don't believe there would ever be a malintent, but I just felt like for where he's at in Christianity, where he's at as a pastor, where he's at as a minister to his family, I felt like that was a no-no for me, because I felt like if we're really truly for Christ, that was not the outlet for it, because you already have a very contradictory issue that's happening around the world, especially with Christians right now. And we need to know that all the believers who are saying they are and who respect God and respect Christianity, and especially artists. I mean, a lot of the stuff that's going against artists right now. So just because I said yes to him, that means I'm going to get all the gigs. Like, but what about my friends who said no to him? I mean, is that means they're going to be blacklisted and mistreated because they said no? I mean, yes, we do things out of love and respect, but at the same time, are you worshiping man or are you worshiping God? Are you for God or are you for man? Are you just settling just because this is one of the biggest moments and you have an opportunity? And even though you're representing and doing it for a Christian family, you could have done that in any other space with that Christian family. You could have offered a whole nother thing altogether for that Christian family. You know, you could have had to be at the church service that is going to be held. I mean, but this whole thing, like, it just came down to it's a job. And so when I looked at it, I was like, well, he's doing a job right now. You know, he's still a pastor. He's still a worship leader. He's still one of the greatest ones who's ever done it. But he is doing a job right now. And so I have to respect the fact that that's what that was. And whatever else he sought to do as a believer, that's between him and God. That's between his relationship. What did it do? It did discourage me because I'm a Chris Tomlin fan. But I'm a bigger fan for Jesus Christ and not the great falling away. And many Christians right now are experiencing this disastrous falling away. So many Christians are experiencing this. And when I say so many Christians are experiencing, they're experiencing this in a deeper way than most people are talking about in social media. And because it's confusing. And it's not about racism at this point. It's really about where do we stand with love, mercy, and grace. And I don't know that we're there yet. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if I call Chris Tomlin and ask him to come and do a concert here in Great Harbor Key, he's not going to get on a flight to come down to Great Harbor Key to come and do this concert here in the Bahamas. It's going to be so many restrictions there, and I'm probably going to have to pay like $30,000 to $40,000 to make that happen. That's facts. That's business. That's just that. And then team, security, and all this other stuff, just to make that happen. You know what I'm saying? And then when that happens, I don't know if it's going to be done to the same level as it would be done anywhere else. But I know where his heart is. I know because of the heart of the man, because of the heart and integrity of the man. If he said yes, he will do it willingly and he will come and he will show up. But at the same time, I can't promise you that every artist thinks that way and willingly operate that way. And so the world right now is in place where is the Christian artists that should say no to stuff like that, to walk away from those politically influenced environments now so that we can take a stance with the church and take a stance with where God wants us to be, are not doing it. They're saying yes. And it's not about the cash, because we've had Christian artists who said yes because they said they feel as if God told them to do it. I'm like, pressure telling you to do it too. That's not always God. Pressure's also telling you to do it. Because God didn't wake you up at one night and say, they're going to call me and ask me to lead this worship and stuff like that. And God revealed that to me. We always hear that story afterwards. We never hear that story before it happened. So those stories always happen. Well, God told me. That's after the fact. No one comes online and tells you. When you hear people actually tells you what God is going to do prior to it happening, then you know it's really God, because now it's confirmation. You receive some sort of word prior to that. Somebody else was a witness to that. But now most of the things that are happening, there's no one who's a witness to these things. And so what's happening for artists is now we're all being placed in this very difficult place of management, which means that we're agreeing to things because we have to mitigate and maneuver in order to survive. And our survival now has become so first because the world is made. If you don't survive, you're not going to be able to pay your bills. You're not going to be able to take care of your children. You might be blacklisted. You're going to offend this person. Once you create that offense, oh, then people are not going to view you as a Christian and blah, blah, blah. And that is one of the hardest places for artists, not just believers, but artists around the world and all entertainment. All of us are dealing with this hard place right now, whereas maneuvering is becoming much more difficult than it's ever been. And my encouragement to Bahamian ambassadors who are in Florida, who are different places around the world, please understand proper management. Understand proper management. Understand proper maneuvering in these cultures and these times. And even all the other humans who are around the world, all humans who are around the world, all of us need to understand that when we present ourselves to anyone, do show respect, do show reverence. If you take a job, take a job. If you have to go and apologize to your constituents because you took this job that offended a lot of believers or something like that, who are upset about your decision because now they feel as if you've taken a political side. And that's how deep the culture is right now in America and various places in the Bahamas. And if you take that stance and you're saying you're taking that stance for faith-based, for me, it's like you already know that's going to be a political rally. You already know that's going to be politically influenced. You already know all these things are going to happen. So your peace have to really be in God to say that, well, God, I don't know what's going to happen on my end. I've been hired to do this job. The entity that I work for took it and agreed, and so I have to show up and play. It's not like I could say no. I am with a label. The label said, yes, I have to show up and play. My management team took it and said, yes, I have to show up and play. So I showed up and played, and all I ask is for you to do something. You to do something out of this ministry for it to be wonderful. After that emotion has passed, after all of that has passed, I've already agreed and said yes. People only remember the fact that you supported one side more than the other side. They've only seen you supporting white entity functions more than you've supported black entity functions, unless it's CeCe Winans doing it. And it's not even CeCe Winans doing it. It's you inviting CeCe Winans to do it because she's just still the biggest thing since gospel music got revamped. So let's just be real. And so when it comes to the Spirit of God, we really have to have discernment. And as artists, I'm sorry, but it's going to be tough. You're going to have to learn how to maneuver in these times. But my encouragement to you is just remember that you are an ambassador. Remember that you are an ambassador wherever you're from. You could be from Egypt, India, Gaza, Sudan, Ukraine. You could be from Russia. You could be from all the places where people are trying to pit humans against other humans and demonize a race. So you say the Ukrainians are God's children, but then you look at Russia and you call them demons, or you look at North Koreans and you demonize them because everybody's out there to be a weapon or something like that. So you try and tell me there are not people there who love Jesus? There are not people there who are praying for their nations not to be destroyed so their families could live to see another day? Are you suggesting that people who are serving in the military that do not have the best interests of our nation? There are many people who serve in the ministry, and I mean, I'm talking about there are a few bad actors out there in the world. When it comes to the population of the world, it's like 8 billion people. If that percentage was 70 of bad people and 30% good people, the world would be the most horrific place to live in. I couldn't walk out my door without either getting robbed or somebody attempting to try and assassinate me. So let's get the facts correct. The world is not out to get us. It's systems. Systems that we said had freedom. That was a lie. It was systems that said that we are under God and we respect God and whatever. No, I mean, because you don't even know who structured that system. At one point during slavery, I mean, most people don't know this, but did you know that slaves were given a different Bible? Slaves, and during the American 400 years of slavery, the slaves who were shared and talked to by priests, they were given a different Bible. They literally were given a different Bible that took out that, humanity, which included all of them, that all people, you know, can have salvation, all people can have freedom. Because if they saw that, they would have been like, well, gee, all of us are supposed to have this. So, Declaration of Independence have been, transformed because someone and other people who are part of that same society of people who believed in slavery at one point understood humanity later on and said, no, we can't keep on doing the same thing that we were doing when we were on the opposite side of the oceans. We have to change this. We have to amend this. We have to morph this. And even though they didn't seek to say the language for, persons who were enslaved and indigenous people as well as the native Indians, they learned later on that those bad decision makings created more havoc. The same way with the what where people who chased down the slaves and stuff like that. They became that's what became like policing. That's where policing comes from. Them hunting slaves and trying to keep them in line. So that's where police departments came from. But you could look it up and look at all that stuff. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. Because once you start talking about slavery, you're gonna lose all the other persons who believe in nationalism and who feel as if like you're making a slant against other races and like I said, we're all humans. Black Africans were not the only enslaved people in the world. Like there are many people, the Hebrew nation for one. So there's so much information that's out there that's available, but people just don't seek to attain that information. My encouragement to my community in Great Arbor is that we have a unique relationship. We are small. So if we have an issue, we can go to our neighbors and talk it through. Um, we can make minor corrections. We could honor people. We can recognize them. Even if we made a mistake or that person made a mistake, and they've been somebody who's not only contributed much to our community, but also a pillar in our community, someone who's also influenced many positive things in our community. We need to recognize those people and show them due respect and always have some sort of, when it comes to talent, make sure that people who are capable and well capable of managing that are taking care of that. Like stop this thing where you're not planning this right. If you're gonna hire me to run sound for your event, make sure that everything is properly there, that all the equipment that I need is there. If I have to provide equipment, that means you need to send me some sort of document to say I need to provide equipment. All artists need to be respected. Every artist needs to have respect, and all humans deserve respect. Everyone deserves respect. Everyone deserves love. Everyone deserves compassion. And we all have grace. So God gives us grace every single day. The least we can do is give that grace back. Now, I've not been on here long because I didn't want to give you guys a sermon, but obviously I just did. And I made some corrections, but it was not a correction as a slight to somebody who I admire, because there's somebody that when I was playing basketball and at eighth grade or something like that here, that's where I learned to play basketball, and he was my basketball coach. So I do not have anything ill against him. I don't have anything like that. I was just trying to correct a point so that my youths who are in college right now at the University of Bahamas, young ones who are also at Florida State, others who are would have traveled to different places, some who are maybe in Canada, my friends who don't want to move back home because they feel as if the environment here is so complex in a way that disrupts it. But I can tell you right now, the tourists want to move in. The second homeowners, they want to build more. The community here that is expanding is showing an expansion of people who see the value. They see the value not only intrinsically, but long term. They see it from all the perspectives, not just for monetary gains, but also for peace. For peace. Because that's living. They want something that's generational. So when they come here, they think about that. So why is it that we don't think about that when it comes to the generation that is here? Making sure that these families have longevity, making sure that all the families from this community are able to have some sort of inheritance for third generations, and figuring out ways to encourage that, figuring out ways to help them manage that, and also making sure that our seniors are properly taken care of and shown love. This is something that is very important to me, has always been important to me. I've voiced this numerous times, and I'm willing to correct anybody who speaks out and tries to use some sort of social media platform or other platform to share information that is incorrect. Not incorrect in the way that was intentional or ill-conceived, but incorrect, which labels somebody higher than another and gives them a higher status over people who have already served. So don't do that. Because if I showed you all my records, you're going to be like, whoa, I didn't think that through. So don't do that. Because there are many persons on this island who have great records, great rapport, who have great experiences, great influences, persons who've walked around with heads of state, persons who have the heart for this community that are not always recognized. They're demonized sometimes. Sometimes they are not even demonized. They're loved. These are people who are also loved. I might be one of those persons. I might be, really extremely loved here. So if you do something against me, you might have a really strong backlash. You might have to think that one through. But my point I'm making here is that people here love each other. This is loving community. But because of pain, hurt, and the status thing, keep on keeping a separate statuses, the mindset remains the same. And that's in any place. That's in any state around the world. That's in any country around the world. You'll find that. But you find it mostly in smaller communities because everybody believes that the resources are limited. But the resources aren't limited, especially when it comes to your future. The resources are not limited. And when it comes to representing the Bahamas as a person, being a good person is a choice. Being a good person is a choice. Being a person that doesn't go out to seek revenge, that's a choice. Being a person that puts it all in God's hands, that's a choice. Being a person that shows mercy, like the Good Samaritan, that is a choice. And all I'm asking you all to do today is make that choice. Make that choice to stand with other believers and stand with other people who love you. And never doubt yourself. You are all ambassadors around the world. So continue to show love and mercies. If you have opinions about subjects, share those opinions. If it feels as if I'm trying to slander somebody, that's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to make a message very known. We are all ambassadors. And the least we can do as human beings is to act accordingly and make sure that everybody has special treatment. And you're saying so we should be giving rapists and murderers special treatment. They made mistakes. They are getting what they deserve based upon the systems of life. And so they bought into the systems, and whatever systems are at the end, they're getting what they deserve. But at the end of the day, while they're in prison and serving their time, they're already in prison. They don't need to get beat up while they're in prison. They don't need to get served food that is with maggots in it. They don't need to have all their assets or everything like that taken away. Really? Just because the state decided and that gives the state a right, then that means no one's ever free. We're a part of these systems, but we're not free. So don't you understand that the only freedom that you have is through Jesus Christ? Through Jesus Christ is the only freedom. And I'm here to tell you that If you do not have Jesus today, I pray that you consider him tomorrow. I pray that you consider him after this message. But true, Jesus is the only way. And I believe that if you really want Jesus, if you really want a new beginning, just try him. But I am fed up with the fake aids. Okay, so you're not gonna have me out here clapping my hands to fake aids and to fake news. I'm not gonna do that anymore, and I'm not gonna allow anyone to marginalize people, no matter who they are, because I love all people. I'm a person. I love people. I love people. And that's why when people do the things that they do, it hurts me deeply because I love them. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to seek revenge. I'm going to leave it to God, and I'm going to pray for them, asking God to show his mercy and his love towards them so that they can find comfort, so that they can find peace, and so that they can pass that peace on to somebody else, so the world can be a better environment to live in, not just for me, but also for future children, for future generations, and on and on and on. But because we're a part of these systems, please don't act as if you're clueless, like you don't know nothing. You have to learn how to maneuver in these times. Be careful, not of what you say, speak what needs to be said, but at the same time, understand that you are part of systems. Natural state, this is a full world of systems. But in Jesus, you are free. So when you walk around in freedom, know that your freedom is not because the country said that you are a citizen, you are free. Not because of that, because that can mean all kind of other things. Now that you are a citizen, now they could charge you whatever they want to charge you. They could do whatever they want to do with you. If you're not a citizen, they have to deport you. They can't just do whatever they want to do with you, But respect human life. And the same respect that you show, that comes from you, we hope that others would show you back in return. So this is my prayer. I'm sorry this was long, but I hope next year to start the podcast up again. But I just really wanted to really show my community that I think our community in Great RBK in the Bahamas, we're doing good things right now. I'm seeing more young persons, a better variety of young persons being involved with certain projects. And that gives my heart, it makes me feel really good. And so I'm confident that out of those projects would create a better environment for their families and maybe third generations of wealth. But I'm just saying that we probably have to guard ourselves right now against all the negative stuff. Whatever we put out there, just try to put something out there that is not only going to be for one person. If you're going to recognize somebody, recognize everybody who's ever done it. So that people feel the equality of life that they should have felt, not just as a citizen, but as a citizen of humanity. And that goes for all races. And even persons who might have different lifestyles than believers, we are now being challenged in a greater way to maneuver and how we treat those other persons representing those lifestyles, and understanding that they're still human. You still have to show love and mercy and respect, and also having understanding, and asking God to, in these times, to give you wisdom and give you understanding. So that is my prayer, and project. Hopefully November. That's the last update. And we'll hope to really just do some big things. I see a lot of big things happening around here, so that's a good thing. And I believe that when God moves you from a certain group, maybe it's just because you needed that healing, you needed that space and stuff like that. So it's not always like something to be worried about. But when people don't want you to be a part of a certain society and they keep on blocking you when you've always been a part of that society, and the thing that God has called you to do, and you tell them that to what you do professionally and they still don't recognize it and they still don't honor it, that's okay, because they did the same thing to Jesus. It's okay, man. Like, I always say this, and I'm gonna make this very clear. If somebody is trying to put you down as an artist, just remember, God gifted you with so many resources directly from his kingdom, and all of them are right inside of you. Just tap in, man, and just keep on walking and trusting in that. But stay positive, stay hopeful, and the change you want to see, you have to be it. You always have to be the change you want to see. If you want people to speak more positively about others. If you want to, if you want people to show more love to others. If you want people to not have ill intent or ill-conceived intent towards you, um, be what the Bible says to be, and being merciful. And I think when you remember that is so many other people you represent, it seems like a lot of pressure, but that should be good pressure, because it tells you that you come from royalty. It tells you come from a lineage of great warriors, of great amazing leaders, of great people who have done amazing things around the world, that are either revered for their grace or revered for their best practices and management. So you could be that wherever you are. So just be encouraged to stand firm in that, and don't lose and get distracted. And even if you do get distracted, still hold on to your faith. Don't lose courage in your faith, because God has a plan. And trust me when I say, it may not look like it today. It may not look like it for 40 years. You know, Moses was 80 years when he went back into the field to save a whole nation, you know. And he didn't do saving, God did the saving. You know, he was just the instrument that God used. So you worrying about the fact that this taking long and taking forever and nothing ever worked out for you, when God decides to do that for you, he's going to do it for you, you know. And it might not even necessarily be for you to inherit that. It could be your children and your children's children to inherit that. So you just got to understand the promises of God, that they're greater than whatever you can possibly think of. But I want you to know that I thank you for taking this time out to listening for me. I hope I didn't create any new offenses. I just wanted to clear the air on some things and just address this thing poignantly. I love the fact that we have our current person as we have a minister of tourism here, a representative of tourism here, and that's from this island. And I thank God for that, and that is a young person. And I thank God for the young persons who are involved with government, young persons who are involved in our community, our youth leaders. I thank God for all the other ministers, the St. Bartholomew Anglican Church by the Sea, the Highway Church of God Church in Bullocks Harbor, off of the Causeway, the Church of God Prophecy, where I go and I attend here in Great Harbor Key. I just thank God for all of those community leaders, including Prophetess Erica Francis. All of these community leaders have done something, you know, and they're consistently doing something, inclusive of even Minister Mackey, Naomi Mackey. They are all consistently doing something to try to put out something positive in our community. And so I thank God for all of them, and all of the young persons who are still a part of the Kiwanis clubs, part of all of the other key clubs that are here on the island. Thank God for graphic persons and persons who have been very helpful in the administrative part of our community, and it was just inclusive of so many talented persons, singers, writers, visual artists, dancers. So there's a unique base in this community, and it varies everywhere else. You know, so if you're an artist that I talked about who had very challenging times to deal with, and you wanted to get your voice heard, I'm just telling you, just be careful, maneuver well, but use grace, mercy, and love, and use those practices. And trust me, God won't lead you astray. He will always be with you. So stand still and stand strong. Until then, I bless you guys. Peace and love to all of you. And I just pray that this was well received. This is just a short note, which is an hour long, but I just hope that this is something that's going to touch somebody, and not something that's going to hurt somebody, but something that's going to touch somebody and get them to think about things more positively in our community as well as the world, and that will bring results and positive results. Until then, um, I'll see you guys hopefully next year. Or probably, oh well, November. Hopefully November, but we'll catch up. All right, peace and love. All right, turn this thing off.